UK Prime Minister, of course, Boris Johnson, has accepted an apology from the Health Secretary after pictures emerged of him kissing an advisor in breach of his own rules on social distancing. Johnson says he considers the matter closed, but the opposition have called for Mr Hancock's resignation. One lawyer has told Sky News it is quite likely he broke the law through his contact with Gina Coladangelo.
Caught on page one of The Sun by a long lens. And if this activity wasn't reasonably necessary, then he was breaking the law too. As he got intimately close to this woman, Gina Coladangelo, one of his oldest friends from university.
Anything to say about Mr Hancock?
They, ministers and those that work with Matt Hancock, had little to say.
I think the actual issue is an entirely personal issue for Matt Hancock. The Health Sec's been working very hard rolling out this vaccine programme. So I'll leave it there.
But this relationship concerns a minister at the heart of government, rule-breaking and public money. In a statement, the Health Secretary said, "I accept that I breached the social distancing guidance in these circumstances. I have let people down and am very sorry." But according to the legislation at the time, this would not only have breached the guidance, but the law, which stated that nobody can participate in gatherings that consist of 2 people or more that are indoors, with exceptions stating that any gathering must be reasonably necessary, such as for work purposes. Matt Hancock faces a penalty notice or unlimited fine if he's found to have broken the law.
Was that gathering, which was a very close embrace and obviously a COVID risk, was that gathering reasonably necessary for Matt Hancock's work? And I just can't see how it could be. The reality is that that this was probably illegal under the regulations which Matt Hancock signed into law.
Just 12 months ago, Matt Hancock had stern views on rule-breaking when it came to scientist Professor Neil Ferguson visiting his lover. Listen to him speaking to Sky's Kay Burley back then.
I don't understand this.
Speechless.
I am. That doesn't often happen to me, Kay.
I know.
But I am. I am. And, you know, Mr Ferguson Professor Ferguson is a very, very eminent and impressive scientist. The science that he's done has been an important part of what we've listened to. I think that it's I think that he took the right decision.
You wouldn't have
to resign. That
yeah,
is.
you wouldn't have fought to keep him.
It's just not. That's just not possible in these circumstances.
Are you hopeless, Mr Hancock? I don't think so.
He has become used to defending himself.
Is it your chance to give a version of events today, Mr Hancock?
But for weeks, the pressure has been building. Attacks by Boris Johnson's aide, Dominic Cummings, leaked text about him being hopeless from the PM, and now a new front for the opposition to mine.
If he will not leave himself, then ultimately the Prime Minister should take that responsibility, because we cannot continue with a situation where there's one rule for the Conservatives and another rule for everyone else, and where we have so little apparent grip on the health of our nation from this Health Secretary.
Gina Coladangelo has been at Matt Hancock's side around Westminster for years in a range of roles, here from 2019. But was this appropriate, given her work for a lobbying firm? Between June 2019 and February 2020, Gina Tress, her married name, was listed on the register of interests of members, secretaries and research assistants, with Matt Hancock as her sponsor. But it wasn't until September 2020 that she was appointed to one of 2 roles as a non-executive director at the Department for Health and Social Care, a paid position which comes with a £15,000 salary.
There's all sorts of different ways in which government can bring in people to be special advisors, in this case also to put them on the board as a non-executive director. Some of those processes have very clear rules about them, others, though, don't. Her appointment seems to have fallen into a quite murky area where there isn't a fair and transparent system, and we don't know the credentials of employments and, you know, whether or not there's conflict of interest here.
It's hard to imagine Matt Hancock surviving under previous Prime Ministers, breaking his own safety laws, a tryst in a government office caught on camera, a job for a long-term friend paid for by the taxpayer. But Boris Johnson runs his government differently. So if the Health Secretary is to leave his job, it will be because he has decided that the pressure has become too much. After 16 months guiding the COVID response, it's remarkable the Health Secretary may ultimately be judged for personal rather than professional behaviour.